How's it going out there, YouTube? My name is Jesse, and I am the curator for the Golden Age, and this is another
Lost Heroes of the Golden Age.
Yes, this is Lost Heroes of the Golden Age, and this time...
Feels like we should have done this one earlier.
Yeah, this really does feel like something we should have done before now, and there's no real good reason why we didn't do this one. I mean...
Heroes normally don't get introduced this way.
He's interesting enough. Since it was the villain who was headlining the comic, it was interesting that a hero had to be created to take on the villain. I mean, villains weren't leading features back then, and leaders and villains weren't allowed to succeed. So they created a hero to be able to defeat the villain. So it was weird to see it going in the other direction, to where usually you have the hero and then you create like an arch villain to fight the hero. So this was interesting seeing it done in another way. And Liv Gleason, they really did try and do things a little differently in the Golden Age. But the Ghost was definitely an intriguing one. So let's go ahead and cover what we should have done already with this Lost Heroes of the Golden Age, and we cover the Ghost. The Ghost, Brad Hendricks, first appeared in Daredevil Comics number 5 in 1941. Publisher is Liv Gleason, and the creator is Bob Wood. The Ghost is a character I've wanted to cover for some time now, ever since The Voice covered the Claw. The interesting thing about the Ghost is he's an interesting juxtaposition to some of the characters that appear in the Golden Age. A lot of times you'll have your hero, and then he will sometimes be given an arch nemesis. They will appear into a number of issues. That is basically how the Ghost is to the Claw. The Claw is the villain, and the villains are not supposed to win at the end of their comic. So if the Claw kept losing to random people, he would look like he was incompetent and inept. So what they did is they actually gave him a constant figure to go up to. He started in Daredevil Comics number 5, and except for missing issue number 12, which was an origin story for the Claw, he ran all the way to issue 20. But for that missing issue, they gave him a story in Captain Battle Jr. Comics. Now, he wouldn't even reveal his identity for the first 2 issues, and in issue number 7, when he revealed who he was, he also revealed that he was a criminologist, and I guess he has an apartment in Manhattan. Now, the Ghost, he did a number of interesting things when he was in. Now, he did get captured a couple of times, but that was just something that happened with heroes. He not only did he carry around these smoke grenades, I think they were smoke grenades, he not only killed the Claw, he also had a chance to punch Hitler. We all live in that moment. Now, the Ghost really didn't have any powers. What we can surmise from the stories that he's in is that he has some skills. Athletic, acrobatic, he's a fighter, because, he's thrown fists around. The way he's been able to aim the grenades and how he threw the spear through Claw's neck to kill him, he also has to be somewhat of a marksman. And we're going to say that he's a skilled pilot. He may even be an aerial ace, because he has his own plane with a skull on the front, which is completely impractical. It's pretty awesome. But he engaged in aerial combat on more than one occasion and shot some planes down. Now, I'm not sure how many planes that you have to shoot down to be an ace. Let me look that up. Okay, to be an ace, you have to shoot down 5 or more aircrafts, and I think that he did shoot down at least 5. So I believe he would be considered a flying ace. And his plane appeared in a number of issues. Now, there is one annoying thing that they did in the comic books with the Ghost. It's in the first issues. It's in a number of issues. They have arrows. Now, if you've watched my videos for a while, you know my disdain for arrows. And unfortunately, the arrows were needed in these stories. Why? Because you drew them so horribly. I mean, I can, some of the arrows were useless. I can follow a story in a way that needs to be done. But you did some of these paneling so horribly that without the arrows, the story doesn't make any sense. You didn't have to draw it that way. There are more stories and comics in the Golden Age without arrows than with arrows, which shows that you didn't need to do it that way. Come on, people. Anyways, despite the arrows, I think that the Ghost was interesting enough. He should have been covered a lot sooner, probably right after the Claw, but we didn't do it. But we're doing him now. The Claw started before he appeared. The Claw kept going after he appeared. So I don't know why they would have wanted to take him out and not run him to the end. Because in the Claw's final story, he is killed for good. Despite the fact that the Ghost kills him once. But they discontinued him. And they never said what happened to the Ghost. He helps capture Cobra Queen, and then he's just gone. He just doesn't appear anymore. After the Ghost's last appearance, they reprint the very first appearance of the Claw, and then they finish it out without him. So let's go ahead and review over the Ghost. Oh yeah, in his second appearance, he actually breaks the fourth wall. Oh, one more thing I did want to mention, and I thought this was rather interesting, despite the fact that he breaks the fourth wall. A lot of these stories from the first and second, and a lot of the stories, they continued into each other. The first and second continued into each other, and a number of other stories did that. And that was an interesting thing in the Golden Age. A lot of the stories were self-contained. They would start and stop within that issue. Sometimes you would have carryovers, but it wasn't a normal thing for comic books to do that. The Ghost did this on more than one occasion, and I found that very interesting since, like I said, most stories were just self-contained. So having so many stories that would start in one issue, and then you see the play as it continues in and finishes the story in the next issue. And it wasn't because they needed more paneling. There were two separate stories, but they were part of the same story, if that makes sense. As we get to the end of the first issue, you'll see how it ends and where it plays into the next one. So let's get into this, and then you can see what they were going with the Ghosts, and you can see how he had a bit of popularity there for a little while. Let's do this. The Claw. The Claw. Who is this woman, and who is this creature? We've never seen him before, but we do know this. He doesn't like the Claw, and you can bet your life that wherever the Claw is, it's most likely you'll find him around. He chooses to be known as the Ghost, and confidentially, it looks like, at last, the Claw has a formidable opponent. We shall see. That is a question mark. Daily Star, Claw still missing. That is quite a headline. The world's worst villain unheard of in 10 days vanished into sea. But, like most pleasant things in life, it seems almost too good to be true that the Claw no longer exists. Anyways, the nation has a much cherished breathing spell. Meanwhile, News of the Claw's absence has spread around the world, and to one man in war-torn Europe, it seems to be of particular significance. And then we finally get by Bob Wood right over here. Our tale opens somewhere in Europe. The Fuhrer will see you now, Fräulein. Yeah. When the voice reviewed the Claw, he failed to mention that Hitler was... it appeared a couple of times in the Claw comic books. It was more than just like once or twice. Here, Fräulein, are you prepared for the big move? I am ready, Herr Führer. Your wish is my command. Now that this Claw is... I really hate reading these sometimes. Look at the way it's said. Now that die Claw is no more, we have no rival in conquering the Western Hemisphere. That is how that is meant to be said. So they're discussing that with the Claw being gone, that they need to find a way to take over the Western Hemisphere. You know, the Americas, North and South. So Hitler and the mysterious Miss X talk. And he talks about how she is going to be the queen of the modern world, and then he will be the emperor as they take over. So as she makes her journey to America, let's see, phones start ringing furiously, radios blare forth as never before, newspaper headlines scream, the city grows to a state of mass panic. What can it be? You've already guessed, the Claw is back, and we see all the citizens start to freak out because the Claw has returned, and with good reason. He is looking over the skyscrapers. This isn't just overly drawing a character as big. He is that big. The panic-crazed mob and flocks in all directions. Times Square becomes a bedlam of horrified confusion. I like that. A bedlam of horrified confusion. So everybody starts fleeing. Fools, you thought you've seen the last of me, ah? So as he starts to walk through the cities and he was going to terrorize everyone, there's a puff of smoke. Emerging from the smoke is a ghastly sight. A skull-faced white figure. So, you are the mighty Claw. Okay, I respect the fact that you are going to face him head to head, but your whole body is the size of his head. Yeah, I'd say mighty is an understatement. So taken by surprise is the Claw. He seems unable to move. Dude, you can eat him easily. Who is this strange form of man? Can it be alive? Well, Mr. Claw, why don't you start something with me? You, who are you? Where did you come from? I respect this, but you're tiny compared to him. Okay, so they exchange little threats, and you know, he can't fly. So this opening fight confuses me. He seems to flow through the air and smite the Claw in the face. A powerful fist strikes flush on the Claw's cheeks. The daring man of white has dealt the first blow. So they're fighting, and it seems like the ghost can fly, but that's not a power he possesses. So the giant man the giant Claw is fighting a regular-sized man through the tops of the city. Perched upon high near the penthouse, the ghost seizes a table. I want to question the validity of that, but he did say penthouse, so there's a possibility that there is a table. And sends it clashing into the Claw's huge mouth. Try this for your diet. So he crunches the table, and then he breaks off a flagpole with the flag on it. So, this is what you're after. Before the claw can recover, the white form of the ghost has seized an American flag, and he throws it right in. It looks like it hits him in the ear, but I think it flies off of his face. Swooping low, the ghost rescues the flag before it falls to earth. Again, I guess the ghost has the power to fly, because that's what we're seeing here. But I've read the issues. He can't fly, yet it seems that he is flying right now. As the great, I mean, maybe it's a jetpack, but they don't allude anything to it. As the great battle of all time rages into the night, news of the catastrophic event reaches every corner of the land. You know, some of the descriptions of this is just awesome. Catastrophic event reaches. Okay, so there's a number of radio guys who start calling out what's going on. And now the Claw is really mad. He is swishing his mighty arms through space. Jeepers, am I glad we're 800 miles from New York. Quick, our New York office. I want pictures of this. Wow, what a sensation. Wow, comics. Okay. So there's the report getting back to the headquarters. The headquarters that's located in New York. Miss X has shown up. And they keep calling her Fräulein. It's like is this the only German word you know that you had to keep saying it so much? Ah, Fräulein, at last you have arrived. Do you bring good news from the fatherland? That I do, and I see the news here is not good. What of the Claw? My purpose in coming at this time, you know, is because it was thought he was out of the way. This will alter our plans. So the main reason she came is because she thought there was no Claw. But now that there is, you know, this changes things. And the news report comes over the radio. Can it be? Yes. After 7 hours of skirmish, 7 hours of skirmishes, the Claw is weakening. So apparently these two have been fighting for 7 hours. Because it doesn't say 7 hours after the appearance. They say a 7-hour skirmish. So we go back to Times Square. And we see that the ghost... It looks like he's flying around the Claw again. So... I mean, if this were the case that he can fly, he wouldn't need a plane, right? Anyways. He starts to fly around... I guess in the first appearance they didn't use arrows. In the next issue they definitely use a lot of arrows. The Claw clutches his head in anguish as he tries to follow the white whirling figure. And then from another rooftop we see that he's got a box of dynamite. This will put the finishing touches on the overgrown germ. He starts throwing dynamite at the Claw's feet. And he starts to charge off. The case of dynamite explodes at the Claw's feet, rocking his tremendous frame. Can it be true? Is this the Claw we see rushing away? Okay, so we'll cover these last couple panels right here. Hear that? The Claw has retreated. Perhaps the time is now ripe for carrying out our plans. Yes, but provided the Claw is gone, what of this ghost person? Who is he? Why does he fight the Claw? Because he's a hero? And will he prove an obstacle in our path? Or perhaps a stepping stone in fulfilling our plans? The ghost. We must find the ghost. No sooner said than done. I'll save you the trouble of looking. The ghost! Yes, who is the ghost? And what is the purpose of in battling the Claw? He's a hero. And what of this modern Matahara? Why was I saying that wrong? I even looked up how to say that earlier. whom we know as Miss X. How does she plan to gain control of our nation? And of course, the Claw. We know too well to even hope that he won't be back. So don't miss next month's issue when things really get hot. Well, I hope you liked this video. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you have any requests, go ahead and give me those. I have a few requests that I'm looking into. Always glad to do more. I mean, I definitely have tons of heroes to review. But if there's someone that you wanted to see that I haven't reviewed yet, that's a good way to make it jump the line, because I may get to them eventually, but if you send in the request, we get to them a lot sooner. So, like I said, I hope you enjoyed this one. Until next time, I'll be seeing you.